Ha ha ha, this kid, I'm completely convinced him on the landlord's stage. Zi Xianyang slapped the stone table in front of him and laughed, looking at the entire Xianyou empire. What this poisonous medicine king said is a decisive figure. But I did not expect it to be so miserable here. It is too sad. You look at him that he can't cry, and is too sad. My son. He has some pity on him. This kid is so inhumane, how can he treat the old man like this? Ha ha ha, Zi Xianyang scolded Zhuo Fan while laughing at the corner of his mouth. Long Jiu and Jian Sufeng looked at each other, and all smiled. But looking at Zhuo Fan's eyes, it was only admiration. Long Kui and Long Ji looked at each other, and then looked at Zhuo Fan again. With a more complex look in their eyes. At the same age, they still came from Qianlong Pavilion, a super first-class family within Xianyou. But so far, it has only hit the elders in the door. But Zhuofan, a slave of the third-rate family, had already fought against Xianyou's most famous character, and he was always in the upper hand, and was famous throughout Xianyou. The same person. How could this gap be so big? The two people, Peony and Blue and White, looked at the thin figure below who seemed to be in full control of the whole situation. The poisonous drug king's fierceness and insidiousness, the two of them had personally taught them. In the face of the old man at that time, they seemed to feel that the power of the entire Huayu building might not be able to beat the enemy. But in front of this Zhuo Fan today, the old man seemed to be a puppet. And was played around by this mysterious man over and over again, but there was nothing he could do. The miserable appearance of tears and tears, let alone see them. It is estimated that they cannot imagine in their lifetime. Is this still the sinister, vicious, arrogant and poisonous drug king, Yan Song? After swallowing hard, the two landlords Peony and Blue and White looked at each other, exchanged their eyes, and finally the Blue and White landlord came to Long Jiu and bowed to Yingying, asking Nine Uncle. Please don't give, we have played a mystery. What is the sacredness of this fake Song Yu? Is it the son of a family, or even the inner disciple of a certain sect? Gently stroking his beard. Long Jiu pondered for a while, but he shook his head with a smile, and his eyes were full of confusion. Family. Ha ha ha. His family is only a glow of fire, really unworthy. The word of the last family. As for the sect, alas, the old man has never heard of it. In short, this kid is all an unsolvable mystery. You don't even know Uncle Jiu. The landlord Peony was shocked and came to the two of them, wondering, then why do you trust him so much? Trust? Not to mention at this time, Zi Xianyang snorted and sneered. I can't trust anyone, even I trust. You haven't seen the true face of this kid. I also hooked up with you 1 second before and called my brother. I sold you directly in seconds. Turning your face and faster than turning a book. If you really trust him completely, you may not even know how to die by then. Speaking of which, Zi Xianyang seemed to remember the past again, with a deep fear in his eyes. You don't even think that there will be such a ruthless person in the world. Now I think of when he betrayed Ning's children at that time. When you smile and have cold eyes, there will be some inexplicable coolness in your heart. Can't help but feel the heart. The Peony and Blue and White landlord can see, Zi Xianyang is not lying. But if this person is really so vicious, how can he be respected by everyone like Long Jiu? Zhao Dandan did not seem to be satisfied that Zi Xianyang said that Zhuo Fan was not, could not help but anger. You have always said that my husband is your friend. But you are so insulting him behind him, is it not a kind of betrayal? I slandered him. Ha ha ha. What I said is true. And he doesn't deny this. Zi Xianyang shook his head helplessly and laughed out loud. Actually, I admire him most. Not hypocritical then, such a person. How can you still be his friend? The landlord Peony was startled. His eyes full of puzzlement. Everyone looked at each other and all laughed out loud. Ha ha ha. How can't this be a friend? Hearing this, the blue and white landlord felt a little dazed. These people obviously did not trust that person, and even knew that he was not a good person, but why did he seem to rely on him so much, as if he were a true friend? It seemed as if he had given him anything, so he was relieved. Isn't this a contradiction? Seemingly seeing her doubts, Zi Xianyang smiled slightly. Blue and white landlord. Trust and value are not worthy of trust, two different things. Although he is not a trusted friend, he is definitely a trustworthy brother. Only because he has this strength. Zi Xianyang pointed a finger down. The unkempt, poisonous hand medicine king said lightly, how can you deal with this old guy if our untrustworthy friend does not appear today? The body did not feel shocked, the blue and white landlord and the peony landlord. Only then did he understand what he meant. It was not because this mysterious young man was trustworthy, but he entrusted Hua Yulao with his life and death. But no one but him can carry this important task. Leaning on the stone chair obliquely, Zi Xianyang looked down at Zhuofan's eyes below, and felt a lot softer now. You know why we all trust this least trustworthy friend. Because only he is the most worthy of us in trust. Without him, I am afraid I will lose the person I loved most in my life. So I feel that this relationship will not last in this life. So at the banquet, as soon as he opened his mouth, I said nothing. Risking something may bring the risk of extinction to Jianhao Mansion, just like you guys. As soon as this remark came out, the two landlords were even more shocked. It turned out that during that banquet, Jianhao Mansion and Qianlong Pavilion supported them all, not to look at the face of Huayu building, but to the helper brought by this kid. For a time, both of them laughed bitterly. Unexpectedly, Huayu Lao, as one of the imperial family of 7th generation, has been operating for thousands of years, but it is not worth the words of a hairy kid. If grandma was still alive, the stubborn temper of her old man had to be angry again. Sneeze. On the first alchemy stage off the court, Zhuofan sneezes for no reason. This time it was true. He couldn't help but touch his nose. Zhuofan wondered. Fuck, who said bad things about Lao Tzu in the back? At this moment, he looked at the poisoned drug king who was already in a daze in front of him. It must be the old man who scolded himself in his heart. You wait, and I will take your life in a while. Squinting slightly, Zhuofan's eyes flashed a murderous intention. But this time, he was wronging this old man. Since the Poison Pill King's second alchemy failed, in addition to the initial anger, it was because of anxiety, and his mind became blank. This time they can enter the third round. They are all famous alchemists, even if they are not as good as his poison master. But alchemy is also a lever. He was able to catch up with the speed of dropping a panacea. But now he has dropped the speed of two immortals. If he catches up, it is impossible. Thinking of this, he was really like an ant on a hot pot, jumping anxiously. But the more anxious the heart was, the more he couldn't think of a way. Seeing this, Zhuofan sneered in his heart. But it was already expected. In fact, Zhuofan's timing of interrupting his alchemy twice was calculated already, both at the moment when Dan Cheng was about to become. As a result, energy consumption cost him the most alchemy time. Even for his third alchemy, Zhuofan no longer interferes, and at his speed, he can no longer catch up. It can be said that in this third round of competition for the Dan, the Poison Hand Medicine King did lose a lot in alchemy. But more importantly, after that, it can be regarded as dead by Zhuofan. There was a flash of excitement in his eyes, and Tao Dan Niang looked at Zhuofan, but was so excited that he could not speak. She had never imagined that Zhuofan was so capable. That she could have a way to kick this Poison Hand Medicine King out of the game. This time, whether Zhuofan wins or her Tao Daniang wins, Bodhi Root can't get out of Huayu Lao. Chu Qingcheng is also a pair of beautiful eyes. Looking around Zhuofan is unprecedented, more and more like it. In the words of Xiao Dandan, it is this husband who is much stronger than the previous one. There is a way. Suddenly, the poison hand medicine king patted his head and screamed. Immediately afterwards, he suddenly took out 8 silver needles and thrust them into his head. Silver needle to seal the holes. Huo Fan raised an eyebrow and couldn't help laughing. He knew in his heart that the old man wanted to block his hearing and avoid disturbing him. But why did you old guy go? Even if Lao Tzu doesn't disturb you, let you make alchemy well. You are too late. However, the poison hand medicine king seemed unbelievable, and the fire of Yuanli in his hand ignited, and he put all the herbs into it. Wu Pin Dan, complete at this moment. Another shout sounded, and the 9th man was shortlisted. The remaining people are still desperately practicing alchemy, but the worst is just 3 or 2 minutes. There are a few faster. Estimated to be completed within half a minute. This old man can't catch up. Zhuo Fan sneered out loud, and the rest of the alchemy masters also burst out with rare excitement in their eyes. This is their first time, or it may be the only time in their life, they can win the poison hand medicine king puff. Suddenly, a bright red blood arrow spewed out and flew into the flames. At the next moment, the flames screamed 2 or 3 feet high, and its power was several times stronger than before. In a blink of an eye, he turned the medicinal materials into liquid medicine. Zhuo Fan's eyes shrank uncontrollably. He secretly said that the old man had been painstakingly refining medicine for the finalists. It was really hard enough. It is a pity that even so, it is really impossible to make a panacea in a short time. Puff. Suddenly, another blood arrow spit out. The poison hand medicine king did not come and wiped the blood stains around his mouth. And the seal was violently knotted. Suddenly, blood entered the flame and instantly condensed into a round pill, and the liquid was in the flames, like the 100 rivers entering the sea, and rushed towards the blood pill. Just the blink of an eye, they all poured in. In the end, but after hearing a loud shout, the flames in the hands of the poisonous hand medicine king exploded again. And the round blood-colored panacea flew out instantly, and there was gurgling danky around him. The poison hand medicine king waved his hand, grabbed the pill in his hand, held his head high, and shouted, "The refining of Wupindan is completed. The refining of Wupindan is completed." Almost one after another shouted. Xiaoya glanced at the two, and came to the poison hand medicine king first in order, picked up the medicine, and nodded. Strict old 5-grade inferior product Dan, successful refining, shortlisted for the Dan King final. Just pulled out the silver needle in the ear, and after hearing this sentence, the poisonous hand Wang Chang exhaled and shook his body, finally showing a smile of relief. But looking at his pale face, Zhuo Fan knew that he had been seriously injured. Even if he is shortlisted for the final of King Dan, he can no longer practice alchemy. Ha ha ha.